Welcome to our brand new week of Webisode, and we are beginning with a guest. I have a guest right here. This is Bonnie Krebs, the owner and illustrator for all things Art Impressions. I'm so happy to have her here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I am delighted to be here as your guest.
And she's going to show us the magic of Art Impressions. So
Come play with us.
Come play with us. in just a second. And we have new things from them too. Now we're going to do it. Come play with us. Okay, here are 4 new sets, and we're going to learn so much. So, Bonnie, take it away.
You are going to love this technique. And the way that it all starts, it's sort of like you're building a collection. So you start out with your basic flowers and your basic foliage set. So this is the foliage set, and we use these over and over again. These would be the common stamps that are in every single project. So the little grasses, the vines, we come back to these 2 sets over and over again. So every time we add a new set, we come back to these. And if you look at these samples, see the grasses in here, the grasses in here, and the vines, those all come back to these 2 sets. So you don't get duplicates of these ever. So the way to start, basic flowers, foliage set, and then build your collection from there.
So then you go into, we've got the Rustic Containers.
Yes.
So these are the containers you're going to get, and this is what she's going to show us.
Yes.
And then we're also adding the kitty, because that's so darling. So we've got this set, and you get all of those. So we're working with the 4 of them, and Bonnie's going to show us. She has a unique method of doing watercoloring. So I'm going to slide these away, and then you're going to bring in your stuff, okay?
Okay, so you are going to love this. And for those of you who have always wanted to be a watercolorist and have either been afraid to try or have not been successful, this is really the way to do it, because it's all very structured. And it's all done with markers. So we're just using water-based ink, so markers and a brush and a little bit of water.
And let me show you, we have brought in, these are Marvin Markers, and we brought all of them in because these are the colors that Bonnie uses again and again
and again and again.
And I was told that these last forever.
They do. And some of my markers I've really had for years and years. And I love that about Marvy, is that they really know how to make a marker. They've been doing it for many years, and we've always been very happy with the quality of their markers. And honestly, you don't need 100. You need about 15 or 20, and you will be able to do tons and tons of projects with those markers. So, and actually in this one, I'm only using a few with this project here. So let's get going on this, and I'm going to start out by inking the stamp. And let me grab this pen over here. This is actually called sepia, and this is a really earthy color. So anything that's sort of an antique color, old and antique or old and rustic.
Let's go right up here, because she's just doing this, but I want you to see with the side of the marker, she's rubbing across the ink, or across the stamp, right?
Yeah, so you're just inking, so you're not using an ink pad, you're using the marker, and you're just coloring that onto the stamp. And now we're going to stamp it on watercolor paper, so you do need to use watercolor paper.
And this really works with the cling rubber stamps. That's
yes.
what you need.
Yes, that's what you need. And the reason for that we'll get into a little bit later, but you have to stamp things over and over again. So you're stamping it in a repeat. And we do a lot of counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We can do that.
We can count. Okay, so now we're going to start out by dipping the brush in water. And I just have a little water up here, so you can see. And I'm going to dip my brush and pinch it off. And when I pinch it off, it's pretty flat. If you can see that, it's pretty flat, because we don't want too much water. We're just using a little bit of water now, and we're going to start by pulling the color out of the lines. We're just dragging this brush underneath.
Let's scoot you up.
Can you see this good there?
Okay.
Okay, and you can see that this is starting to become more 3-dimensional.
Oh, so you're actually just pulling some of that ink down.
That's right, you're pulling this ink down. And you notice these little bands that go across this container, that's the closest thing to you. They kind of stick out from the container. And so that's what we want to show first, is these little bands. And we do that by pulling the color out of the bottom.
And you didn't do each panel, you just did it as a swipe
As
across.
a swipe,
Okay,
because we're going right across, and we're going to show that little shadow underneath. Now we're going to go on the side. And when you're looking at a rounded container, if you think about a rounded container, the area closest to you is the lightest, so in the center, and the area farthest is the darkest, and that would be on the sides. So that's where we start by pulling the color out. So now we're dragging it out from the side.
So
and
now
you
you're
can
going
see.
horizontally on each side.
Correct, yes.
Nice.
And the thing that you want to remember is that you never cross any lines with your brush. Other than underneath this first band, you don't want to take your brush and just color all of this in like this. You want to stay inside these little horizontal lines.
Gotcha.
Okay? Because we don't want to lose the integrity of the stamp either.
So every time that we see the brush go off camera, it's going in the water and then you're pinching it.
Correct.
Every single time.
Yes,
Okay.
every time. We're dipping it and pinching it off because we don't want too much water. Now we can pull a little of this color off from the top, and you can see we have a little three-dimensional image
Boy,
already.
It doesn't take much ink, does it?
It doesn't take
just-
much at
wow.
all, not at all. And the ink is in here, and these stamps are made for this technique. So the size of the lines really matters. How much color are in the lines when you drag that color out with the brush.
Okay.
Okay? So that's how every project starts. You have a starting point with every single project.
So our container's done?
Our container is done.
Okay, move on,
Okay,
lady.
so let's move on. We're going on to the fun part, and this really is the fun part.
Okay.
So let's start by adding our foliages and flowers into here. Okay, and normally we would start with the foliage and then add the flowers, but we're going to put this little kitty in here, so we're going to start with him actually.
Okay.
Okay. Now I don't want him to be floating outside of this little basket, and I could probably guess, but I'm going to use a little positioner and make sure that I get it in the right place. Okay, so this is just a little L bar here.
And this is something that you manufacture, right?
Yes, yes, we made this, and it's was made for the watercolor because it's small. It's small
Okay.
and easy to travel with, and it comes with a little plexiglass shield. Okay?
And
so,
yes, we'll be carrying it.
yes, you're gonna love this little guy. It's so great. Okay, so now we're gonna ink this little cat, and I'm just using a light color. This is a brownish gray, and again, I'm inking it just like this, and I'm gonna stamp it in the corner of this little L bar here. Okay, you can see that. Now I can move this and place it exactly where I want it. Okay, that's about right there. Now I'm gonna put this back in the corner,
Oh.
and I'm gonna ink it again. And now I'm gonna get this
Okay.
little guy exactly where I want him.
Clever lady.
These little things make such a difference. And like I said, I usually try to guess, but once in a while, I really want to make sure that I get things in the right place.
It's so much easier than restamping it, doing a mask.
Correct.
And, yeah, okay.
Yes, correct. I know. You know what? We're all about shortcuts. And the whole point of this technique is that you can do it in about 15 minutes. Really, that's the whole point of it. If you can do it in 15 minutes with just a few markers, we're good to go. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure when we're doing these little characters that we darken the eye. The lines are really tiny, and when you're stamping on watercolor paper, it's hard to get this really dark image, so you want to make sure you really darken that. That makes a big difference. It really does.
So
now,
you just took one of the Marvies and did that, okay.
So the Marvies have two points. This is a fine tip, and then it also has the brush tip, and that's what we use to ink the stamp.
Okay.
So the fine tip is really tiny, which I do love about it. It's always wet, and it's really good for these tiny little details. Okay, so let's move on and let's pull the color out of the lines. And by the way, this dries really quick. You don't have to hurry and do anything. It dries quickly, and as soon as you touch it with the brush, you've activated the color again. Okay, same with this now. The cat is contoured, so we're going to start where the color is the darkest, and that would be on the side. So we're pulling a little of this color out, just like we did with the container, dipping our brush in water and pulling it out. And we'll come back to him.
So you kind of go around the edges.
Yes.
Because you did that with the basket too.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
Another thing to remember when you're doing these little characters, this is a really good rule of thumb, is you should always leave the face white. Always leave it lighter than the body, because this is the life of the character. And when you make this too dark, you've dulled that character and you've made it flat. So the best thing to do is leave the face white.
Okay.
Okay, just a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to him. We're going to go on now, and we're going to add some foliage to this. Okay, so here's the little foliage, the little vine from the basic foliage set, and we're just going to ink this up now with the marker.
And this is a light green.
Yes, this is actually called olive green, number 15. Okay. And here's what we want to do with this now. We want to stamp this a bunch of times. So we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we want to get that in there in a repeat. Okay?
No re-inking.
No re-inking. You want to get that in there a bunch of times because it's really important that you show that dark to light impression. That's how we get this watercolor look.
And you did that very quickly. You're not hesitating each time you restamp it. You're just...
No, we're not hesitating. And actually, this is what we don't, let me just show you what we don't want to do. We don't want to ink this thing and just mash it into the paper and then ink it again and then mash it into the paper. It's too one-dimensional. We're never going to get that watercolor look like we do with this, because what happens is when we add water to that, the dark image in the front comes forward and the light fades back.
Okay.
And we have a three-dimensional image.
You just need to count to 5.
Yes, you need to get, and honestly, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5. It needs to be more than 3.
Okay.
But we say 5. I say 5 so that I remind people it's not 1 or 2. It needs to be more than 5. And you know, people like structure, I found. And structure is good, especially when you're trying a new technique, because it's very stressful to have somebody tell you, oh, just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I know.
Give me some direction.
Give me some direction. So we're very structured. So now we're dipping our brush, pinching it off. This is all dry.
Oh my.
And now your hand is flat on the table like you're writing. So you're going to write your name, and you're going to take the side of the brush and you're just going to dab.
Wow.
And you can see what happens is it starts to look more like a little painting. And it's okay to get this color in from the side. It's okay to get that in there from the little basket. We can kind of mix that all
So you're
up.
letting it, you're moving it.
Yes, you're jumping your brush around. So you're pinching it off and you're just kind of dabbing it. See, jumping it around. And you can actually take your time and get every single one of these leaves. That's okay too. But you can see how three-dimensional this is looking already.
That's so pretty.
Okay, let's go on from here. So let's add some grasses now. And let's use the tiny little one in here. So we're gonna use the same green. And we're just gonna walk this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
And we can go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can go back the other way. Here's what not to do. Let me show you again what not to do. So we don't want to go like this. See, that's too one-dimensional. It's not ever going to blend.
So they have to overlap.
Yes, you're actually walking it. The grasses are made to walk, and it makes a big difference that you do it this way.
So you're just going over just a fraction
just a half
of an
a step.
inch. Right.
Yep, just a half a step. And now you can go either direction. So you can go back. You can go to the left or the right. You can go uphill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you can go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
And you see how that fades out from dark to light. Yeah. That's the difference between being successful and frustrated.
That's
you
magic.
have to stamp it this way.
Just magic.
And it is magic. It really is. And you will come out with this cute image that nobody will ever guess is stamped. They will have no idea that you stamped it. Let's put a little of this in here too. We can put some of this inside.
So you're really using that as a filler as well as the ground.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, we're doing that exact thing. Now we're going to pinch our brush and we're going to pull the color up and out.
Oh.
We're going to drag this color up and out. This is actually the only time that you would use a brush stroke is with the grass.
And it was a straight brush stroke.
And it was a straight brush stroke.
Okay. And you
otherwise you're dabbing. You're just dabbing.
Okay. And then you went from the bottom up.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
You pull that color up and out with your brush. And the same up in here.
Neato.
And see how this all just kind of blends together, and this grass is looking a lot more natural now.
And it really fills in with the kitten. Okay.
It does.
Oh, do more.
Okay, let's do more. So let's add something now in the background. So a long stem actually stamps in a repeat as well. So the thing about this technique is everything follows the same rule.
Okay.
So a long stem is just an image with a long stem. Okay, and you can use as much of it as you want. So you can turn a long stem into a short stem as well, just by inking this part.
Okay.
So they're really, really versatile. So let's take some of this color now, and we're going to color the bloom.
So you're using a purple.
And then I'm going to use the green, and I'm going to ink the stem. And I'm going to stamp it. Guess how many times?
5.
5! That's exactly right. See, you've got it already. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
See how cute?
That's
See how the dark
darling.
comes forward and the light
Yes.
fades back. And even the stems do that. The dark stem will come forward, the light ones fade back into the background.
That's sweet.
And it automatically does its thing. Let's put a little bit more over on the other side.
'Cause
And
we
it
wanna
doesn't
balance our
matter. We want to balance our
basket.
basket. And you know, the cat is in the middle, so he's sort of squishing everything out to the sides anyway. So whichever long stem you pick up, you're going to stamp it the same way. And there are lots of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
So we've got our little guys in here. And now we're going to add our water to it and just touch it.
Actually, it really is nice that everything repeats. I mean, not your action with the brush, with the stamping.
Yes. Yes, and that's what I've found over the years. We've been in business 30 years now.
Aha.
And what I've found are a lot of people who choose stamping are people who would say they're not artists. And that's what this technique is for, is somebody who would say, I'm not an artist.
But want this beautiful watercolor look.
Yes, they want to be able to do this, and they can. They totally can. Okay, so let's now add some more. So let's add some more filler flowers in here. This is one of the filler flowers from the flower set. It looks like a bunch of little daisies. And let me show you what not to do. Because there's a yes and a no. Okay, so here's what it actually looks like. And we can't get it to, we can't stamp it in anywhere and have it look good like this. It's too uniform.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do is stamp it, guess how many times?
5.
5 times. That's right, 5 times in a circle.
Do you notice I'm holding up my end of this?
4, 5. Yeah, see what a quick learner you are?
Nice.
See, now we have that dark to light again.
And you have a cluster.
And we have a cluster.
Yeah.
And we don't want to see those harsh lines anyway. We want to see the idea of the flowers.
Gotcha.
It's far back in the background, and we don't want to see too much detail up front. So now, in a little basket like this, let's just pick a couple. We don't have to ink the whole thing. So let's just clean this. This is how I clean my stamps.
I can tell, dear.
Yes, I know. The side effect of this is inky fingers, and I'm sorry, but there's just no way around that.
And that's
You're going to have
wonderful.
inky fingers. Okay, so we're going to ink these 2 little flowers, just 2 of them, and we're going to go in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh.
And we'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's put another one in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And again, you're not pulling that away and seeing where you stamp. You're just doing it.
You're just doing it.
Okay.
Yes. Don't stress out about this. The whole idea of it is that it's simple and easy. That's the whole idea.
And Bonnie says.
And I say.
Just do what she says.
Just do it. Just do it. You've got to be bold.
Okay. Go for
We
it.
can do it. And like I said, the whole point of it is that you can do it in 5 minutes.
Oh, I love how it changes. I mean, obviously it changes the shade, but pretty dramatically by adding
It
that
does.
water.
It does. And it
Nice.
does that same thing again where that dark comes forward and the light fades back. And don't be afraid to blend all this together. Don't be afraid to do that.
Or to move it a couple
Or
of
to
other
move
places.
it.
I'm watching you.
Yes, get that color and move it all around. And the more that you blend, the softer it gets. Some people like that really, really faded out watercolor look where it's really faded. You can get that. Just keep pulling the color out and it'll just get softer and softer and softer. And nobody, this is the best part about it, will ever guess that it's stamped.
I can see that.
Nobody will ever guess. They will think that you painted this little painting. It's so cute. Okay, so now let's add a little color to this cat. And we're going to do that with a palette because we don't ever add color direct to paper.
Okay.
We want to do it from a palette. And a palette is just an acrylic sheet, so a plastic
Use your craft sheet.
craft sheet, absolutely, yes. You can use any type of shiny surface that you can apply ink to. So we're going to take this color. This is that light brown gray again. And we're just going to add a little more color to this little guy. You can leave him white if you want to. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to add more color, here's how you do it. So take a little of this color on your brush and start where the color is really the darkest, and that would be on the side. So again, on the side. And we want to keep him contoured.
Let's scoot your paper down. There you go.
Can you see there now?
Mm-hmm.
So pull this over, get inside his little ear, in here. And then let's put a little detail on him so we can make him a little tabby. Just with a little bit of your brush. And remember, watercolor is always the idea of things, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It's better if it isn't.
Say that again.
Watercolor is the idea of things, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Should I say it again?
Well, no, that's really good.
It is.
Because it's almost an illusion, isn't it?
It is. That's a really good word. And so it's better if you don't put too much effort into making everything perfect. All of these little lines don't have to be perfect. We're just showing the idea of this little guy.
Sweet.
Isn't he cute?
Yes. Sweet, sweet.
And all the characters work the same way. So you could put a little bunny in here. You could put different types of birds, and there's cats in all different positions.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. This collection, let me just slide it in so you can see all the little kittens. So
you could have this little sleeping guy in there. Here's the little one we used right here. This one coming out of any of the containers. They all work the same way.
Okay. So there are the steps, and you can do so many other things with it.
Oh my
too.
goodness, we've just scratched the
Yeah.
surface. There's so many things that you can do with these, and what you're building is a collection. And as you add to your collection, you get more and more versatility.
So here's another one just to show you. We'll get in closer to it as John is moving out. Thank you, John. So you can see that more color was added to the basket, and flowers were done a little differently.
Yes, and these long stems, this is a totally different one, but it's stamped the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same with these filler flowers. Just stamped the same way, only a different one. Here's that vine we used. Here's the grasses. It's the large grass, so instead of the small. So there's so many variations of it and ways that you can use these, and everything is made to work with what you already have.
Okay, and again, so the foliage and the flower, that's the basic set you're going to use for the rest of your life.
Yes, for the rest of your life. And as we come out with new things, we will always come back to these because some things don't ever need to be redone. The grasses are perfect the sizes they are, and they're very versatile in all of the projects.
Okay, and so in this collection, the foliage, the flowers, the containers, and our little kitten.
And the little kittens.
And I bet you are like me, you want to know more. Well, I'm happy to tell you that we're going to keep this woman and keep sharing her talent. And thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
It's a
This is so fun.
Whole new deal, yeah.
You can do this. Let me just tell you, you can do this. I have not met a single person who can't do it, and you are going to love it.
Great. And please join us tomorrow. We have day 2 with our week of Webisodes, and this is just the beginning.